Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. I am out here on the porch today because I wanted to do a different vlog today from a different perspective. So, of course, I'm doing another movie review from home. And, of course, I did go see a movie back on Monday night. It's called Kingdom Men Rising, but it was a documentary. And I actually wanted to walk out within 5 to 10 minutes because I was so bored. No offense, but I mean, I have seen more entertaining Christian movies. And that's actually why I wanted to do this movie review with you guys. I wanted to do a movie review based on the movie Breakthrough. So, Breakthrough, when I first heard the title, I thought, well, I already knew what the movie was about. It's about a kid who falls through the ice. So I actually thought the movie was about a kid who breaks through the ice. And that's actually not why the movie is called Breakthrough. The movie is called Breakthrough because the mother had a breakthrough when it came to the power of prayer. And that is actually what the movie is more about than anything. Even though the movie is centered around saving the kid's life from possibly dying to being submerged in ice cold water for 20 minutes, there's still more to the movie than just that whole aspect. It's just the whole fact that the movie is centered so much around how God sometimes says yes and sometimes God says no, and the topic becomes more obvious when later in the movie, when John, the name of the character in the movie, that's not his actual name, obviously. In fact, this movie is based on a real life incident that happened to a kid, not with the same name, but same exact incident. And God chose to save his life, but he didn't. But yet, there's times where God says, "No, I'm not going to save this person or this person, this person." And we get angry of God, like, why? Why do you say this person but not this person? Because God can do whatever he wants. God has a sole purpose for every single person, and if he feels like, he's done his will through this person or this person, then that's it. Anyhow, so I'm going to get right into it. So the movie basically talks about the character John. Basically, according to the movie, I'm not sure if this same kid was the same exact way. So, I mean, we can only guess. His kid had a huge basketball obsession. Well, obviously, the basketball theme was kind of predictable. Stephen Curry, the one of the top stars of the Golden State Warriors, was the executive producer for the movie. In fact, he was one of the many producers of the movie as well. So it was honestly not a surprise that Stephen Curry would include that basketball theme in there. John went to a Christian school and was part of a basketball team. He did not get along very well with his mother. He loved his father very much because he and his father thought alike. And it's not that the boy hated his mother, it's just he didn't really know what to do with her. And she was doing her absolute best to try to understand him. And to be honest, she loved him, the absolute most. And it became clear throughout the whole first half of the movie, and then became even more obvious in the second half. So, of course, John has a personal issue. It's hard to understand right away, but we find out later he is adopted, and he's very quiet when it comes to his family history, and that's why he chooses not to do the oral report. In fact, he lies about why he didn't do the oral report because he's too embarrassed to even admit that he doesn't have a biological family. Well, as far as we know anyhow. He mentions later when he does do his oral report, he actually doesn't remember them or even know them. So as far as we know, his only real family is his adopted family, which is his two parents. He doesn't have any siblings whatsoever. And if he did even have any siblings, like biological siblings, he doesn't remember them at all. So it's completely understandable why he feels that way. versus I'm biological, so why I, love spending time with my family is because of that. But also, I spend a lot more time with my friends because of the fact that I am 25 years old. And I'm at that point in my life where I want to get myself out there, and I've been, hanging around my parents for too long. It's not that I don't love them, but the whole fact that I know that they can't be with me forever, and I can't be with them forever, but they will always mean something to me, just like my brother always means something to me, too. And in fact, he's probably the one I see the most, just because he is available the most, and also the fact that he and I have the most similar interests. So, anyhow, enough of that. So later on in the movie, there is another basketball game. Actually, he does, because he does his oral report. When you see him in the first one, or first basketball game, it's actually a practice. So his first legit basketball game, he tries to pass the basketball to a teammate who does not like him for whatever reason. And then he goes off to a friend's house, and of course, his parents are all worried about him. I mean, it's only one night, but they're like, still, we're just worried about him. And the father's trying so hard to be his best friend and his father at the same time, and unfortunately, life does not work that way. So they stay up late at night and play video games. They do eventually go to sleep. It happens to be on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, so that's kind of ironic. And I was thinking to myself, I remember that happened. I think I ended up working on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, if I'm not mistaken. Polk State always closes that day, so that's why I can remember it. Besides, I was not even going to college at the time, so I'm very sure I was just working. I wasn't really doing anything exciting that day, to be honest. So the very next day, the boys went out and played in the snow, and they came upon the lake, which had frozen over, and, they were at least smart enough to throw a rock on it and make sure it was safe, and it was. But, of course, there's a huge difference between throwing a rock on the lake and putting, your full body weight. Imagine if I had stepped on that weight, or on that lake, and I'm very, very heavy, like twice their weight, anyhow. I would have accidentally gone right through right away. And unfortunately, due to my weight and how cold the water is, I probably would have drowned myself. So the boys go out and they play for a little bit on the lake. The manager at a nearby restaurant happens to see them. In fact, so nearby that he was like right on top of them. And he orders them to get off the lake immediately. Them being young and immature, think to themselves, oh, what does he know? We're just having fun. Not realizing he was being completely serious, and he was very smart because he probably had been there himself at one point. Who knows? Not to mention, it is kind of common sense not to go play on a frozen lake. No, there are ice skating rinks that are safe to go ice skating on, and I have heard of times where people can go ice skating on a frozen lake, but it has to be much colder than it was according to the movie. According to the movie, based on the temperature that I saw, it was probably 20 to 30 degrees out. The boys weren't even dressed properly for the cold weather, so right off the bat I knew it was a movie. And secondly, it must not have been that cold, because in order for them to properly go out on the lake without them worrying about falling through, it would have had to be a lot colder. And that's normally why Canadians can get away with going out on the lake, frozen lakes. I say Canada because being dual citizen myself, I know how cold Canada can get based on what I've heard from my family and friends. Let me make sure I'm still rolling. Okay, good. I always like to make sure sometimes. Anyhow, so of course, right after the manager threatens to call the police, which he was being serious about, the John character gets a text message from his mom. He looks at it, and the reason why he looks at it is so weird because he thinks to himself, crap, I forgot to text my mom. Literally right after he saw the text, his weight made the ice give way, and he fell through. Now I'm going to start to speed this up because this is where it gets a little time consuming. So, of course, the two boys managed to get themselves out with the help of the fire department that come about 15 minutes later, versus John, unfortunately, gets too tired and decides to just give up. I'm done. I don't want to fight anymore. And he falls all the way down or he just lets himself fall. The fire department gets in the water. They were getting ready to give up when the atheist firefighter hears a voice saying, check to like your left or something like that, turn around one more time. And that's when he felt something and he was able to get him out. Otherwise he would have probably been stuck down there forever. He had already been down there for 20 minutes. Now personally, I think that by then you would be dead. And this movie traumatized me a little bit because about 23 years ago I was in Canada and I was at my grandmother's house. And the only one out there with me was the dog. So, of course, I'm 25 now, so I was about 2. And when you're that young, there's nothing you can do. And I accidentally fell in the water. Now, you're probably thinking, who on earth lets their, young one be by the water by themselves? Actually, I wandered off on my own. And nobody noticed I left. We had just got to my grandmother's house. We had drove all the way out there. And we were like in the middle of unpacking, and I decided to go explore and found the pool. And I had accidentally fallen, and I was probably under the water for about 30 seconds, maybe down to up to a minute. I don't remember. I wasn't under there very long at all. But the dog saw me, barked. They realized right away I was missing, because based on the dog's bark. My grandmother ran downstairs, found me in the pool, and jumped in and saved my life. And honestly, I have to thank that dog for saving my life, because if God had not allowed that dog to be there, guess what? I would not be here anymore. I would have been dead. And there's many times where I got behind the wheel and almost got into a car accident, and I would have almost died too. Make sure I'm still rolling. I thought I heard something. Oh, okay, it's just Facebook. Because I just posted something on Facebook that's going to probably go viral in a little bit. Anyhow, so that's the reason why I'm a little traumatized by the movie, plus the fact that, due to the fact that I do have epilepsy, I'm willing to admit that to you guys. I am seizure prone, not as much as I have been in the past. In fact, my last major seizure was actually a little over 7 years ago, and I was in a Subway restaurant ordering lunch, and my grandmother was with me. Actually, it was on St. Patrick's Day 2012. I was in the middle of ordering my lunch. I think it was a meatball marinara that I was trying to order, and I was going to get the cookies. And this just proves why I got a little nervous being in the water alone when it comes to my epilepsy, even though I haven't had a seizure in about 7 years, because of the fact that out of nowhere I felt darkness just cover me, and I guess my body hit the floor. The next thing I remember was waking up at my own home in the back porch or outside backyard, and I had accidentally urinated myself, and I didn't remember anything. I didn't even remember anything other than the fact that I was just at Subway ordering lunch. I didn't even remember why I was there. I just remember being at Subway ordering. I think I remember ordering lunch, but I don't remember anything at all after that. Not even to this day, I don't remember, other than what I've been told. That just shows how scary it can be. Like, could you imagine having my condition and being on the deep end, and suddenly darkness covers your face. You fall on the deep end, which my pool is about 6 feet deep. And even though I'm about that right, I'm actually 6 feet. But, just in case, my body suddenly just gives up and I have no way of being able to stand or anything like that, keep my head supported over water, I could accidentally be under there for too long, and that's it. So I'm very careful when it comes to water because of the fact that you never know when I could have a seizure. And I know that's a lot of personal information to put on the internet, but I wanted to share with you guys the reason why this movie means something to me. Because of my condition. Because of that incident many years ago. And I also wanted to tell you guys that here's the good news about the movie. Yes, the kid did die, but the mother prayed. Then he got a pulse. They were able to airlift him to a nearby hospital. He stayed there for 3 days. Now, I just think that's funny, 3 days, and then God allowed him to leave the hospital like nothing had ever happened. Doesn't that sound kind of familiar? The death and resurrection of Jesus Christ? I almost wonder if that's exactly what the movie makers were playing at with that movie. Also, I want to thank Phil Wickham for being a special guest Christian artist in not Unbroken. I don't know why I was thinking that. In the movie, suddenly I forgot what the movie is called. I'm just like, crap. I don't know what's going on with me. Sometimes I do that. I think it's because I'm a little tired. I went to bed late last night and I didn't get as much sleep as I wanted to. So, yes, definitely thank you to Phil Wickham for starring in the movie. And also, I wanted to thank Stephen Curry for being the executive producer in the movie. It was cool to see basketball fandom being brought to a Christian movie. I really hope that this movie is extremely successful. I know it's been out for a few weeks now. And I look forward to my next movie review, which I believe is going to be Detective Pikachu. And I also look forward to my next movie review. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great day. Peace out.